Ha ha! 3 streams this week. We made it. And this one is a doozy. Really, really strong stories. Ethan, I'm so glad you decided to finally become a member. Welcome to the club. And Jason, that was very kind of you to gift 5 memberships. You guys always continue to amaze me and humble me with your generosity. So we have 3 great stories to discuss today. Thank you for joining me on this Thursday afternoon or morning, depending, or afternoon. Well, it's afternoon pretty much everywhere, right? I guess 3 o'clock is a good sweet spot. All right, so as always, please try to keep your comments and questions to the story at hand. I'll open up each story to your questions and comments at the end of each section. And then, of course, at the end, as always, you can ask me anything you'd like for the final 10 minutes of the stream. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for gifting a membership. All righty. All right. Hold on. Story number 1. Hold on. Boop. Oh, so it's Zazzy's world. It's Zazzy's world, and we're just living in it. You know, he makes everybody so angry, but he's still clearly wielding incredible influence over the industry. Largely because he's willing to do things that other people, usually would not. And he's not motivated by the reasons that, usually drives creative executives. He's motivated by, making a buck. And so he's willing to do things that I think otherwise you'd be like, you just simply isn't done, man. And he's like, but why not? This X company will pay me certain amounts of money for it. And so he decides to give it a whirl. I think it's interesting to me. I think that most companies really try to capitalize on branding. And Zazzy has not protected the Warner Brothers brand to the degree that maybe somebody else would. He's perfectly fine with Warner Brothers content playing on other services like Netflix, for instance, Prime Video, as we're going to discuss. I think at the end of the day, he does have a responsibility, a fiduciary responsibility, as we discussed the other day, to the stockholders. But I do feel that branding and the legacy of the studio, especially in an entertainment landscape that seems to be losing all meaning. I don't like the way Jerry Seinfeld delivered some of his comments, but that doesn't mean. I think that Jerry Seinfeld's first comment about a lack of delineation and focus was to some degree true. And I think the industry is losing that focus, what are we talking about? What are we watching? Where are we watching it? And I feel like that now everybody's just watching alone. And I'm seeing it's really affecting the industry. I'm not saying that we can't come back. The industry survived the 70s. Anything's possible. But I think it's going to take some discipline. They had an earnings call for Warner Brothers this morning. Lack of earnings, really. But you might be like, how is that possible, considering the fact that the movie business for Warner Brothers is doing so well? It is, they're doing the best with their movies. Dune and Godzilla are both theirs. They're coming off of Barbie and Wonka. They're making a lot of cash in the movie division, but the problem is that they're not just a movie business. I saw a misleading artificial intelligence headline on X right before we went live, which said that Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League was single-handedly responsible for the $200 million loss in revenue or something over at Warner Brothers. Yeah, their earnings are down and the video game division is underperforming, and it's certainly the majority of that falls on Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. But it was certainly a colossal failure. I think that AI has learned how to make clickbait. You're like, that's very irresponsible, computer, and it's like, who cares? Did you see I got the clicks? And that's just kind of what we were just talking about, right? I think, Aaron Sorkin even discussed this when he was talking about the algorithm over at Facebook. And he says, isn't it supposed to be the balance of clicks with integrity? You would think, but I think the tech industry doesn't really feel that way. And I think that mentality is spreading to other industries. It's a problem. I'm not quite sure how we're going to solve it, but we'll see. Also, the advertising revenue was down 11% at Warner Brothers because, they own a number of, they still own some channels and stuff like that. And it's interesting because the upfronts are next week and ain't nobody want to advertise. Advertising rates are down. I think because people, that's right, Elise, bad AI, bad AI. AI's like, I will replace you. And you're like, never mind, do whatever you want. But we'll see how the upfronts do this coming week. I think that there's a malaise. I think when you don't know what to look at, you look at nothing. And I feel, I don't know how you guys feel. Don't you feel there's like a malaise, like an apathy in the world right now? It's really tough. The only thing anybody's excited about is Deadpool and Wolverine. They're like, I'll just get excited at the end of July, whatever. All right, it's tough. It's really, I mean, again, we'll find our way out of it, but I'm not having a great time in the meantime. All right, so Gollum, that's what we're all Gollum. Gollum invented AI, and look what happened to him. Oh, we're like, my God, what happened to you, buddy? And he's like, apathy. And you're like, oh, now I better start caring about something. But thank you, Mr. F. Maybe Gollum's the hero we need right now, right? So it was announced this morning that they're making another Lord of the Rings movie. And I'm sure everybody at Prime Video was like, gosh darn it, what did we pay for? Well, they paid for the TV rights over there. And, I told you I'd heard from somebody I know in the industry that the Rings of Power certainly got a lot of attention and a lot of people tried it, but the rumor in Hollywood is that the completion rate was low. Like people didn't finish it. Did you finish the Rings of Power? I mean, I'm curious. Let's do a quick, I know you guys like a good poll, but I don't want to slow us down too much. But yeah, we'll do a poll a little bit later, Juan, about the movie. But, oh, look, Will finished it. Some of you really liked it. That's great. I'm glad that you liked it. They're supposed to be bringing it back. I don't know where the heck it is. But I think that, again, the IP, and I blame the Tolkien estate for selling the TV rights to one studio and the film rights to another. One studio should be the home of Lord of the Rings, because then otherwise it's really confusing. So yes, if you would like to watch a streaming show or a series about Lord of the Rings, you got to go over to Prime Video. But if you want to watch a movie, well, Warner Brothers still has the rights to that. So not only do they have this animated movie coming out in December, where the heck is it? We've not seen anything except some concept art. Where the heck is this thing? I want to see maybe a Comic-Con or something. Oh, that's right, Junior 6288. One studio to rule them all. Does that make Zazie Sauron? I don't know if he's Sauron, because I don't think he wants to stick around. He's like one of the main Sauron minions who's like, I'm going to cash out and retire, baby. AG says they made a video game about Gollum and it was horrible. That's interesting. I have another red flag as well about this project. But anyway, it sure trended like crazy, so that's nice. I'm sure the studio feels very nice about that. They're like, oh, we excited people about something. Although I did see some comments that were negative. Like yesterday when I said, hey, the Met Gala is still trending. And you guys were like, because it sucked. And I'm like, that old adage is all publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity, right? I don't know if that's necessarily true. But still, it's still a saying. People still say it. I don't know if they just say that to cheer people up when they have bad publicity. They're like, oh, quick, tell them there's no such thing as bad publicity. And then let's just distance ourselves. All right, so Lord of the Rings, they're making a new movie. It's coming out. They're only still working on the script right now, but it's coming out in That's right, Mish. Jonathan Majors got some awfully bad publicity, although he actually did something pretty bad. All right. So Lord of the Rings, they're working on the script, so I don't know how they're going to make this 2026 release date, but they feel that they can, and it's called Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum. My precious. People love to say it. It's fun to do. I do like to do the Gollum voice. So anyway, The Hunt for Gollum, Andy Serkis is returning, and he's going to direct. And, that to me is like one of the big red flags. I don't think he should be directing. I got to say, I like Andy Serkis a lot. I think he's a qualified director, is what I would say. But I've seen all of Andy Serkis's movies that he directed. And I got to tell you, I think they were only medium. And I certainly don't think any of them stood out for their directing. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about Venom 2. I was just thinking about Breathe and his Jungle Book. But that's right. Venom 2 was awful. Oh no. Oh no. Oh noes. That's very bad. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe Andy Serkis was like, studio interference! It was Sony's fault. And Warner Brothers fell for it. Maybe he was extremely inexpensive. Maybe he'd only do it if they let him direct. But I'd be like, what if I paid you a lot more money? Maybe then. All right, so Fran Walsh and Philippa Bowens are scripting again. And then Peter Jackson is producing. So he's not going to direct, but they said, don't worry. Every day we ask Peter Jackson what he thinks. But I'd be like, is he telling us what he really thinks? Or does he want to make Andy Serkis happy and get some money? I mean, speaking of money, though, look at this box office. My God. All right, hold on. Here we go. My God, talk about precious. Oh, yes. So much gold. All right, so look at how much money these the movies have made. And look at that. Starting in 2001, the first movie made almost $1 billion in 2001 dollars. Oh, do you know how much money that is? And then The Return of the King, which also won a bunch of Oscars, did make $1 billion back in 2003. One of the first movies to join the $1 billion club. And then, I gotta tell you, I didn't like these Hobbit movies very much. But yet, they still made a ridiculous amount of money. I told you my Hobbit story. I was seeing The Hobbit at IMAX at Lincoln Square, and I saw I fell asleep, and I woke myself back up, and when I was leaving, I saw a group of people comparing notes on where they too had dozed off. I fell asleep in the tunnel. I think Ian McKellen was there, and I was like, wake me up when you get out of this dark tunnel. And they did, kind of. And I was like, okay, back to the movie. So, but look, they weren't even that good, and they still made $1 billion. I mean, my God. How can you not try again? All right, so we'll see how, that's right, Josh loves movies. Mortal Engines was very bad, and that was from Peter Jackson. So it's not like the dude's infallible. But yeah, so, I mean, even I would be like, we got to try again. And so you can see how the budget's ballooned, by the way. Look at Peter Jackson, like a boss, making the first 3 movies for under $100 million apiece. That's incredible. That's because he didn't have any stars. He made stars. Thank you very much. But that's incredible that he did that much. Just wow. Everybody else should be embarrassed. Aubrey Small says, what about Denis Villeneuve? Well, he's making the Dune movies. That's his franchise. I think he's good for Dune. But also, here's my other problem. With the Gollum film, what's the grandeur of this story? You know, part of what made the Lord of the Rings movies so good is they were like, we're going to have a giant army march into the battle. And you're like, that'll be cool at the very least. But I mean, what's going to be the case in Gollum? Is Gollum going to get drafted into some army? So, I mean, I'm just curious as to what the story is going to look like. I do feel Peter Jackson, for the most part, is pretty reliable. I do feel bad that Andy Serkis is directing, even though I like him very much personally. I don't even know about Wes Ball, Man on the Moon. Let's see how, I got to tell you, there's like zero interest in apes. They're saying it's going to open at 50. I'm real nervous. I got to tell you. I'm not feeling the apes' love. I told you, nobody cares about anything right now. It's a sad state to be in. Once I was in Canada, and side note, I was at the Edmonton Mall, and great mall, still around. And you could have your picture, it was a while ago, so you could have your picture taken with a live tiger. And to this day, my mother's like, I don't know what I was thinking, allowing you to go so close to a live tiger. But this tiger was just drugged out of its mind so that you could be near it. And the way they got the tiger's attention to take the photo was that they hit it with a wet slipper in the face. And it is very sad, Kay Walton. But it's still, to this day, I always think about, like, how are you going to get people's attention? People are just so lost, you know, like, they're just so, like, they're so apathetic. You're like, what are you going to do to get their attention, you know? So, yeah, I got to tell you, zoos are really sad. And circuses. Circuses are not what they used to be. But, they're not around anymore. I guess jaded is the right term, Finn Moreau. All right. So, let me do a poll. Let's see here. Are you interested in the Gollum movie? Yes, no matter what. Oh no, I guess yes. Give me more Lord of the Rings. Then I need to see a trailer. And then Lord of the Rings needs a break. I guess I would like to do, I'll do one more. I wish someone else was directing. And then Lord of the Rings needs a break. Okay. Will says Lord of the Rings has been on a break, but no, it hasn't because of the Prime Video show. So does anybody have any questions or comments about this, about the Gollum movie? Martine, Lord of the Rings needs a break is the no option. Okay, Walton says you're excited for A Quiet Place. Yeah, I'm excited for that. Although nobody cared about I didn't do the trailer reaction because notification wouldn't have gone out. But just nobody seems to care about. I mean, I thought that was a good trailer. Although I felt like they showed too much in that trailer. I was like, I was already sold on the first trailer. You don't need to show me another trailer. Jerry, they are doing an animated Lord of the Rings movie. It supposedly comes out in December. Yes, Adnan, the bridge moment in the new Quiet Place trailer was the thing that stood out to me as well. But I was like, man, I wish I hadn't known that until I'd seen the movie. Also, I was like, you don't think these aliens can swim? Oh, yeah, they can't, right? I think that was in the second movie. Okay. But I'm sure they can find a boat. Let's see here. Boy, if they can't swim, what the hell did they do landing on Manhattan, on the island? I like Jeff Blue's comment. Gollum is not a leading man. You sound like a Hollywood executive, being like, Gollum, baby, I love you, but you're not leading man material. You're supporting. I don't know if he is the lead. They're hunting for Gollum. I think probably the leads will be the whoever's hunting for Gollum. Jerry says, too much Lord of the Rings content. Stevie says that the aliens in A Quiet Place took the ferry. That's right, they're all online for the Staten Island ferry. They're like, oh, it's taking forever. Man of the Moon says Warner Brothers should drop Lord of the Rings and invest in a theatrical Game of Thrones movie. That's a great idea. That's an excellent idea. Although, let's see how House of the Dragon does. Although the Platinum Diva says, just make new stuff. I do think that the new stuff seems to catch on the most, which is why I think maybe If is tracking so well. But I don't know, because, Bad Boys is tracking insanely well. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it, but Bad Boys is expected to open like 70 or 80 million, and you're like, what? So, and that's the fourth film. All right, let me close the poll, and then we'll move on to the next story. Okay, are you interested in the Gollum movie? 37% of you think that the franchise needs a break, whereas 34% of you need to see a trailer. You're open to the idea, but you're not sold. Only 19% of you are very, very excited about it, and then 8% say, I wish someone else was directing. I'm beginning to feel that, this trended because nobody thought it was a good idea. So let's see. All right, let's move on to the next story of the day. Story number 2. Boop. Okay, first look at Batman, the Caped Crusader. This is the new Batman animated series just from Bruce Timm, who, by the way, has gotten real creepy over the years. I'm like, someone should break Bruce Timm's pencils. And the guy's not a writer. He's an artist. I don't know why on earth he continues to get writing gigs when he's proven to not be particularly good at it. And I think he does stuff that everybody's like, I wish he hadn't done that. I mean, at least he has so far. Will he redeem himself with this new series? Maybe. I mean, I guess there's a contingent of us who will always fall for it and be like, well, let's take a look at it. So this is Batman, the Caped Crusader. Not good enough for Max, but yet good enough for Prime Video. Because, for those of you who are asking for examples of Bruce Timm, he did a very, it's always like the way he treats women in particular, so that makes me also, very nervous about this show. But he did a Nightwing and Harley Quinn situation, which was bizarre. And then also, of course, he had Batman and Batgirl get together in The Killing Joke, which was also really bad. It was like, basically everybody feels that Bruce Timm has a lot of fantasies and likes to make the rest of us watch. All right, so those are the two things I think that are the most egregious that he's done. So he and J.J. Abrams were doing a Batman animated series that Max decided to pass on. But they were like, that's okay. You can put it on Prime Video, just like they put Merry Little Batman on Prime Video, which was like a holiday story that was very off-brand for Batman, with Batman and Damian. Nobody paid any attention to it, not even to dislike it. So, but so it came and went. But I mean, we'll see how this series does. It was released, they released a first look today that we're going to go over. And they also had a release date, August 1st. And I'm like, in the middle of August, I'll watch it. Bruce Timm has said that he wants to bring more diversity to this version of Batman. And I think that, you can see already that he's doing that. Also, it has a 1940s feel, which interestingly enough, the original Batman the Animated Series did, which he developed with, so famously with Paul Dini. But also they're trying to draw a lot of inspiration from the classic Batman comics. The ones that nobody reads anymore. They're like, oh man, who is interested in 1940s Batman? And like crickets, and they're like, oh, but look, we animated it. And you're like, okay. All right, so that's going to explain some of the costume choices here. So let's take a look at these pictures. Okay, here we go. There's Batman, and he's wearing cute little gloves instead of, you might be like, why doesn't he have gloves up to his elbows? And that's because it's based on the original comic, the very first look. Now, I'm a little bit nervous the way that Bruce Timm described his Batman. And he said that Batman, he's like not even a human. He's like so badly damaged by losing his parents that he's not obsessed with it, but it's just broken him as a person. And he's like, he said Bruce Wayne is not only the disguise, but it's a human disguise. The Batman doesn't have humanity. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, for someone who's supposed to be so, have such a tough life, why is he wearing such adorable gloves? I mean, that guy looks super happy to me. He doesn't look like really disturbed. He looks, unless, I don't know. Like, I'm nervous that it's going to lead to kinky stuff because that's the kind of person that, Bruce Timm is. So that's how Batman looks. All right. And that's right, Jonah Jameson. In the 40s, it's not even the way the comic was. So they've got the happy costumes and the dark take on the character. All right, then here's Harley Quinn, who they've reimagined as Asian American, which, I'm all for changing characters. It always seems to get DC in trouble because it divides the audience, but, DC fans are used to it. Oh, what's this character look like? What's this new character? What's this different take? And I always feel that, it's very much a vibe. And if this character has the Harley Quinn vibe, then, it'll work for me. So this is Harley. She's not the Joker's girlfriend. So they've made two big changes. She's not the Joker's girlfriend. She's her own character. And you're like, then why is she dressed like a clown? So that's her look, which I feel is, I don't know. But you might be like, boy, she looks pretty serious. That's because Bruce Timm, who brought up, by the way, he's like, look, I co-created Harley, so I can play around with her. And we're all like, I mean, you might have helped with her design visually, but yeah, I don't know, buddy. She does look more like the Joker, the Jester on a playing card, which is interesting. The deck of cards. But they've also changed that Harley Quinn is the serious persona and the psychiatrist is the more lighter tone. So she's more of an upbeat, silly person as a psychiatrist. Who on earth would go to a psychiatrist that was being silly? And then the masked persona is darker. Maybe that's more of a fit with this Batman character. Batman isn't in the public domain just yet, Josh. See, he doesn't even need to be in the public domain for damage to be done to it. You just call it Bruce Timm. But I am curious to see what they do with the character. So she's not a psychiatrist at Arkham Asylum either. She's a regular psychiatrist, and what do you know? One of her patients is Bruce Wayne, who clearly needs a lot of psychiatric help. So, I don't know, she might be like, I don't think there's anything wrong with you. Let's see. Sometimes they have a romance between Bruce and Harley. I've seen that sometimes explored. And I bet you if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Bruce Timm. All right, so that's a big change. So that's what she looks like out of costume. I think this look could be a little bit more flattering, but let's see. All right. Of course, this is meant to evoke the animated series, as you can see. But I gotta tell you, I love Bruce Wayne's face. He looks like a Disney prince. I don't know where they came up with that, but that's my favorite thing. I'm like, that looks fantastic. That's Selina Kyle with him, by the way. But he looks great. So that to me is like the best thing. I'm like, oh, that looks pretty good. So there he is talking once again to Selina Kyle, yet again. He looks a little more debonair. He looks a little bit more like the Playboy persona. They've certainly made him younger. But I like the look. And that's Selina. Now, they said that for Selina, they decided to go with Barbara Stanwyck, that kind of persona. I'm not a Barbara Stanwyck fan, I got to tell you. So that immediately was not so great for me. No Poison Ivy just yet, Riley, although I'm sure she'll show up. Although, of course, I'll be interested to see how she relates to Harley. Thanks for gifting a membership, Vin. I'm not a Barbara Stanwyck fan. I just don't like the persona that she had. And so I'm a little bit nervous about that, take on Catwoman. Here's Catwoman in her costume, which of course is a take on the original costume from the comics, which I don't think anybody likes. It's okay. She does look very much like Barbara Stanwyck. But, I'm not loving the costume, I have to say, as a fan of the modern comics. Also, that's so clearly, how is that hiding anyone's identity? I guess the domino mask doesn't really either. But okay, so that's Catwoman. And then we have some other takes. Some people were guessing, hey, Trouble Latrice. Some people had some good guesses as to who this might be. Lucius Fox, obviously. Somebody guessed Mayor Hill. But it's actually Jim Gordon. And I think that looks great. I think Jim Gordon looks like Jim Gordon to me. He doesn't have the glasses, though, and the trench coat. But, he's at his desk. Oh, does he? Oh, yeah, he does have the glasses. Yeah. I think he looks good as Jim Gordon. And, of course, I'm fine with it. Of course, Jeffrey Wright is currently Jim Gordon. And there isn't anybody on the face of the earth who's more like Jim Gordon than Jeffrey Wright in the current Matt Reeves movies. So I think he's a good Gordon. And then there's this mysterious character who nobody knows who that is. So we'll find out. We'll find out when we tune in. J. Jonah Jameson, as for you talking about the diversity of the time period, it's just that style. But it's a little bit like how Disney does Main Street USA. I think people can enjoy the style and the vibe of an era, but I think make it accessible to modern audiences by, making it more inclusive. So, I think it works for me. Okay. That Wiccan fan says they cast another Fantastic Four person. Let's see who it is. I heard they were going to be casting a lot of Fantastic Four people. Oh, John Malkovich. Let's see. Yeah, I think that based on, what I'm hearing, that they're going to have a lot of smaller villains that show up just briefly. So we'll see who he's playing. I heard there will be a couple of more Fantastic Four castings, like a flurry of castings over the next week or so. So they're going to have like small roles like Paul Walter Hauser, John Malkovich. I think that's what you're going to see. And I think it says it's probably a low commitment. So that's one of the reasons they can get names. You know, they don't have to commit for the whole shoot. All right. So anybody have any questions or comments about Batman? Am I excited about Batman? I'm a big Batman fan, so I'm excited to see what they do with it. I'm extremely nervous because I don't trust Bruce Timm whatsoever. But I am, going to see I'm definitely going to check it out, like for sure. Oh, Chaith, I don't think that Bruce Wayne looks anything like Robert Pattinson. He looks, more matinee idol, whereas Robert Pattinson intentionally tried to play that down. All right, I think we're ready for I know you guys like the poll. I'll ask you, who do you think looks the best? Who do you think looks the best of this first look? So we'll do Harley Quinn, Catwoman, Batman, and then don't care for it. Okay. Anyone can vote in a poll, by the way, who's watching. Only members can comment, but anyone can vote in a poll. D.A. Smith has a great comment saying, I think the media may have played a role in making people think some places weren't as diverse as they actually were. I think that that's an excellent point, D.A. Smith. I think that, whether or not someone could have the role of police commissioner is what I think the other comment meant. But yes, I do think there has definitely been erasure of the different groups that were around. For instance, Jordan Peele is doing a really fantastic documentary series about the diversity of the West, which I think is really important. And then also, if you look back at when America was first started, it actually started out, with the Pilgrims being a very diverse community, which of course is never depicted in the history books or by Hollywood. Hollywood started this problem. They've got to fix it. Oh, Chad says, I'm getting to the point where I purposefully don't watch Batman content and protest. Other characters, please. But people love Batman. People don't watch the other characters. Let's see here. Man on the Moon says, could Matt Reeves be using this as a testing water for introducing new ideas into the movie? No, I don't think it's at all related. I think that, he's just probably focused on, the Batman 2, it better be good, the Batman Part 2. It's taking forever. I think these breaks are, problematic. Chico says, when are we getting Harley Quinn season 5? I think it was approved. I think it's, probably, at some point. They're pretty good at getting those out. No Adam's Fear. The Batman 2 isn't even filming. It hasn't even been fully cast. The Batman 2, I think they're still working on the script. All right, let me close it and we'll go to the third story. Okay, here we go. All right, so what do you think? Who do you think looks the best of this first look? 37% of you do not care for it. 28% think Batman looks the best. Only 17% think Harley Quinn looks the best. And 16% for Catwoman. That the female characters are so low is a real problem, particularly coming from Bruce Timm. That's his whole claim to fame, that he develops really good, very sexy female characters. That's like his whole thing, and the fact that people don't like his takes on the female characters, I think is a problem. I agree with Stockley, though. Bruce Wayne did look the best. I think doing the Disney approach was very clever. People love the 2D Disney animated style. Even Disney's abandoned it, which I think is crazy because people just love that look. They still love it to this day. And I wish that more people would try and bring it back. I mean, if Disney's not going to use it, I'm surprised somebody else doesn't. Okay, third story of the day. Boom, baby. All right, so the bundle. Late yesterday, it was announced that this summer you'll be able to purchase at a reduced price a bundle of Disney Plus and Hulu and Max. What? This summer. And many people said, hey, isn't that just cable? But the thing is, it's not just cable. It's not cable. It's funny because I clicked on cable yesterday and it was a mix of talking about this story, but also cable and X-Men 97. But what is happening here is that in the past, it used to be that there would be cable networks and then the studios would sell a show to the channel. But what's happened here is that they've really gotten rid of the middle person, the middle company. And now you're getting content directly from the studio. It's like with movies, it would be like getting rid of movie theaters, right? So that's a little, what makes that problematic is that you can hide your numbers better because there is no middle person to kind of keep it real. But yeah, so it's different from cable in that you're doing business directly with the studio as a consumer. All right, I know I saw some people, Billy Baby Bobby says, is Disney going to buy Warner Brothers? I don't think that'll ever happen because I don't think the government would ever approve it. Disney already bought Fox, hey Rodrigo, and I do not think they would be allowed to buy yet another studio. I think that Sony and Paramount might be able to combine because Disney and Fox were able to combine, but I do not think that Disney would be able to. Also, Disney I just had a very bad day with their own stock. So I don't think they're in a position to be making a large purchase like that anyway. I think that what this really is an effort to, I think everybody knows that, I think everybody can see the writing on the wall, that everybody's going to have Netflix, but then, the space is shrinking for other streaming services. It's just getting ridiculously expensive to have so many streaming services. Forget churn, okay? Like, some people just, some people just really only have Netflix. And I think piracy is rampant, as some of you have said. And I think that this is really an effort to try and make sure that, not only do you have Netflix, but then the other thing that you have is this bundle. So we'll see what and it's not even one app, by the way, so it could end at any time. If they don't feel this deal is successful or helping them, they can just end it. Because they're not creating a single app that you can navigate. You still would just get these normally. It's like, Netflix and Max were bundled by Verizon a couple of months ago or last year. So it's really just for the price point and to try and to stay in the game with Netflix. So that's really what's going on. So there are too many services. So who's going to stick around and who's going to, I honestly believe that streaming is not sustainable because you just don't get enough money coming in to sustain the business. It was one thing when it was just Netflix, but you're seeing shrinkage in terms of, the amount of money that's available to pay people, all the way from executives down to, craft services. There isn't enough money for ad campaigns. There used to be a huge amount of cash flowing into Hollywood, and it came from television and then also DVD. You've seen people like Matt Damon speak about this very eloquently. But streaming, technology has done away with both those things. It's done away with physical media, and it's also done away with cable and television, traditional, like ad-supported content. And so that's just an absolute disaster. Hollywood just had a huge amount of cash that used to be coming in. Netflix had a huge amount of cash coming in, but that's because their stock is so high. Netflix stock is ridiculously high. One of the ways they pay their employees is through stock options at all different levels. Usually only the top C-suite, the top executives get stock options. But at Netflix, a number of the executives get stock. That's why when Netflix stock doesn't do well, everybody freaks out because it makes up a large part of the salaries of a number of their employees. So like Netflix's stock is what, like $500 a share or something? Disney's under $100 right now, and Warner Brothers is like $8. So, Netflix's value comes from the stock, and Wall Street giving such a high rating. Is it 500? Let me just check to make sure. Heather makes an excellent point that Netflix is valued as a tech company and not as a traditional studio. Probably because they don't have all the other things that a studio does. They don't have too many, they don't have like a lot really. They don't have, they're not an empire. They do one thing. They stream content. So Netflix stock. Oh my gosh, it's at $611 right now. And it's going up. It went up $2 today. Man, I'm sure Disney and Warner Brothers are like, how can we be seen as a tech company? This is ridiculous. Okay, so Netflix, that's the unfair advantage that Netflix has. They're in Hollywood, but they're treated as a tech company, and therefore their stock is ridiculously, well, I don't know if it's overvalued or not, but it's extremely high. It's like it is in a different ballpark than the other studios. J. Jonah Jameson points out that in comparison, Warner Brothers Discovery stock is $7.80. Oh my God. All right, so I think the idea here, and you can see Zazie is very much, he's a political animal. Look, he's friends with Bob Iger. Look at him, they're palling around together. They're like, nobody likes either one of us. Although I think Bob Iger kind of did a good job repairing his image. And Wall Street loves, whoever makes some money. That's all they care about. So Netflix, I think Netflix will always be the Coca-Cola of streaming. It's always going to be around. You don't have to worry about Netflix, right? So the question becomes, who's going to make it? Who's going to be the remaining streaming services? And Zazzy's been preaching this. Zazzy's like, they're not all going to make it. So this is the idea that Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max will be like your add-on to Netflix. And we don't know what the price point is, by the way, yet. We just know that there will be an ad-free version and an ad-supported version. But they're hoping that you'll have Netflix, and then that's right, Alex, who's the Pepsi? Who's going to be the Pepsi indeed? I think that they're hoping that this bundle becomes the Pepsi. So, and then, the other streaming services like Paramount Plus, which Sony is maybe going to acquire, Apple TV, Peacock. Will those survive? Or will those studios just have to go and yeah, that's right, Prime Video. J. Jonah Jameson, Prime Video is also, I don't know if they're the Pepsi. That's an interesting idea. Because, of course, when you pay for their streaming service, you're also getting free 2-day shipping. Prime has a number of things that you get as a benefit, not just content. But, so I think that's why I think Prime Video is sometimes not always thought of, because it's a content delivery system second, which is really interesting. But although Amazon does, is very much in the movie space, they of course are behind challengers. I mean, they're in the movie space. But yeah, so basically at the end of the day, not everybody's going to survive the streaming wars. There just isn't enough. People just don't. It's too much to ask people to pay for all these streaming services. It's especially because the prices continue to go up because, as I said, they are not generating enough money. So that's the other thing. Content is, because you can watch everything all at once and people like to binge, it's a black hole of content. Content that would have lasted you for a whole season now are done in a weekend. And so, it's hard to produce high quality content for something that's a subscription model. I really feel that it would be great if they could move everybody over to an a la carte model where you pay per show. But I don't know if anybody would be willing to do that. I think that at the end of the day, ads maybe weren't so bad, right? You watch an ad, you leave the room, it gives you a moment to recalibrate, and then you didn't have to pay for everything. You don't have, what are you willing to do to not have to watch an ad? It is Pandora's box, Mish. It really is. I don't really know how they're going to be able to fix this because I think people are used to watching ad-free premium content, but it's just an impossible business model. It really is. It's an impossible business model. Now, I've often said that Disney and Warner Brothers are the yin and yang of each other, and I always feel like they are very much the opposite, and if you don't like one, you very much go to the other, or if you just want to change your pace, you go to the other. Hey, thank you, Dancing Dog 60. But I will say that I think that with Disney Plus adding Hulu, that's already their max. Thanks again, Dancing Dog 60. Like Hulu has The Bear and Shogun. Aren't those like max type shows? So, and again, these aren't all going to be on the same app anyway. It's really just, when they say bundle, it's just for price. This is all about getting you a price and trying to make sure that, you keep both of them. I don't know I would think they were the safest to begin with. And I would think that Disney Plus and Hulu together is very strong. I think if anything, they're already the Pepsi to Netflix's Coke. But they must be a little bit concerned if they're doing this. Hey, Michael. You were missed yesterday. I hope you had a good time at the dog park. And thank you for gifting those memberships. So, let me ask you, I guess I'll do a poll on this. Let's see here. What is your streaming strategy? Let's see here. 3+ streaming services. Netflix and churn. Ad option. Ad supported versions. And then I guess we'll do piracy. Because I really do think it's a genuine problem. And by the way, again, anyone watching can vote in the poll. Anyone watching can vote in the poll. You don't have to be a member to vote. Oh, look at piracy taking off. Let's see how it does. I have a lot of different streaming services. Some of them my family pays for, but I pay for the bulk of them. And it's for my work, so it's for tax purposes. I get a little bit of a benefit there. Phil Layfield says, I've seen you mention in Movie Math that Sony doesn't have their own streaming service. Do they have a Sony? But they do have a Sony movie TV streaming service added on their PlayStation Plus subscription. Yeah, but it's not like where they're creating I don't believe they're creating original content for that. Netflix is where they put their stuff. I'm glad to be part of your streaming strategy there, Jamie. That means a lot. So does anybody have any questions or comments about this? Rashad says, I have all of them except Paramount Plus and Peacock. My bank account is always hurting. A lot of you don't want to be pirates, but you feel you have no choice, it seems. Oh, look at Brandon got gifted a membership. Not sure who, but says thank you. That's very sweet. Platinum Diva says, it's so many, I don't have Prime Video. I get free delivery because of my job. I have all through cable. Let's see here. And can sign up with my cable provider. Can you? It's really, even I recently have been like, this is a lot. This is a lot of money. But they always get me with the annual renewal. And they're like, you just renewed for a whole new year. And I'm like, oh, well. And I'm still paying for cable because I just haven't been able to cut the cord. Also, it's built into my internet package. So, I might as well. When they start cracking down on password sharing, and they're about to start doing that, by the way. Maybe that's part of what's spurring this. I know that Disney's about to really cut down on password sharing, and perhaps Max is planning to do the same. So maybe they're trying to get out ahead of that with a really good option. All right, I'm going to close the poll in a second. All right, here we go. Here's the results. All right, so what is your streaming strategy? 49% of you have 3+ streaming services. Myself, that's the group that I'm in. 25% of you are Captain Jack Sparrow. 14% of you have Netflix and churn. And then 9% of you have the ad-supported versions. That's interesting to me that a lot of you, most of you still don't want the ads. That you'd rather make the effort to churn or just flat out pirate it than having them have ads. Hey, Gaga Stan, I saw that. That John Malkovich thing. We discussed it a little bit. I think that he's probably playing a villain who will show up briefly, would be my guess. And Ethan, I agree that password crackdown will be a really big problem for streaming. Maybe they could be more creative with the ads. Maybe they could do more product placement. Maybe they could have a situation where, like you could sponsor a show and like they have like an intro, that run. I mean, I wouldn't mind 1 or 2 ads at the front of a show. That wouldn't bother me. I think it's the interruption that I don't like. Will says Netflix gained subs after their password crackdown. I know. People need their Netflix. Elise says, like 1950s television. That's true, Elise. If you ever watch an old 1950s show with the ads left in, that's very interesting, the way it's presented by a certain brand, and very often the star of the show will come out and do a little something. I think I would prefer they get more creative and try and fund these shows that way. All right, I think you guys are ready for the Q&A portion of today's stream. All righty. All right, it's 3:58. You can ask me anything you'd like until 4:08. Lady Gaga, that's a great name. I have not seen the Lady Gaga concert film trailer, but I did see the poster, and I don't know, I feel like concert films might be over. Stardust 490 says, what are your top 3 Christian Bale movies? Ooh, The Dark Knight, obviously. 310 to Yuma. And I also liked Hostiles. I gotta say, Christian Bale's made some good westerns. Don't worry about being late, Danny. I'm glad you made it. Vegan Music Head says, what are your thoughts on Marvel scaling back officially? Will this help or hurt? I think that it will be helpful to keep them from being oversaturated, but still at the end of the day, quality is the issue. Hey, Victor Ruiz. Oh, Austin, I didn't see they're doing a Gotham City Sirens comic. That makes me very happy. Let me look that up. Who's the creative team? I will buy that for sure. I mean, I'm even reading the Poison Ivy comic, which isn't very good right now. Okay, let's see here. It's a Western. Ugh. Let's see here. Facing off against Punchline. I don't know how I feel about this. I've never heard of the writer. I'll buy it, but I don't feel confident in it at all. Like all comics I read these days. Let's see here. Astronomy 360 says, what do you think it will take to get more original content? There are all these sequels flopping and the original stuff is doing best, but we still get all sequels and spin-offs. Well, remember, Astronomy, that the Hollywood pipeline is slow. Like, things that you're seeing now have been in development for a few years. But I think if things continue along this path, if we have another rough summer for sequels like last year, I think that you're going to see Hollywood finally get the message. Let's see here. AG, but you know, they can't launch new stuff either. The Fall Guy didn't do well either. AG680 says, hey Grace, I've just submitted my university thesis and finally graduated for my film and screen studies. That's so good. I'm glad we could be supportive and inspirational for you. That's very exciting. Jay Kelly says, most anticipated movies for this summer. I'm really looking forward to Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm kind of interested in Inside Out 2 for sure. Furiosa. I'm seeing Furiosa next week, actually. So I'm very excited. A lot of screenings next week because people are getting out ahead of the Memorial Day weekend. So I'm excited. What else? Twisters, that looks pretty good to me. I didn't even watch the new trailer because I think they sometimes show too much. I am very curious in Maxine. I didn't like the latest Despicable Me 4 trailer at all. I think Borderlands might be fun. Alien Romulus. I think it's going to be a good summer. Although I really liked Apes, and I see like no interest in Apes, and I'm really nervous to see what its box office is going to be. Carmelo Mata says, what are Universal's plans to compete with the Disney Warner idea? Oh, you mean like, I don't know. I mean, like the Office spinoff that we discussed yesterday? I think that, Universal's doing really, really well in many areas, but I don't think that streaming is one of them. Dancing Dog 60 says, Grace, the shows of the 50s had sponsors, and some of those shows started as radio shows and kept their sponsors. I know, but that's a little great bit of TV history. I love that you brought that up. I love listening to old radio. Like when I was growing up, I used to listen to radio shows, going to sleep. It was really fun. Like My Favorite Husband became I Love Lucy. Same writers as well. I didn't hear about a fight that broke out at the Garfield movie. That sounds very unfortunate. Bye, Art Lover. Davy B. Jones, I don't think I'm going to get into Doctor Who. I'm not seeing a lot of chatter about it, and I'm getting ready for June where I'm going to be covering so many shows at once. It's going to be nuts. I'm very excited. Ivan, happy birthday! Happy birthday. Thanks for spending part of your big day with us. Troy says, coming back to LA soon. We're opening a new immersive dome experience near the SoFi Stadium. Can't wait for everyone to see it. I've been to LA in a long time. I really miss it. I would love to go back soon, hopefully. SoFi Stadium is amazing. Hey, Mr. Poppy, we love you too. Thank you, Blair Wraith. Yeah, we talked about John Malkovich a little bit. Shadowland, I'm reading the Tom King Wonder Woman. It's okay. The artwork is very good, but, it's not blowing me away. I'm not reading any really great comics right now, which makes me sad. Birds of Prey is pretty good. Mish says, will Marvel have a full lineup and cast appearances for Comic-Con? I think they'll have some stuff, but don't forget that D23, the big one, is this year. It alternates. It's every other year. Well, this is the year. And so, Marvel's going to save a lot for that, because it's their own convention. Jerry says, I was glad you streamed today because today's my last day. I'm so glad that you got to be a member for a month, Jerry. It was really nice having you a part of the conversation. I hope you'll be back. Of course, Danny, you can have a shout out. Let's see here. Jamie, no, nobody gets the X-Men episodes early, I don't believe. Because there would be spoilers. I haven't gotten it. And I don't believe anybody has. Let's see. Checking my email. Nope. Because I would be watching it immediately if I did. Josh says, don't watch the new Twisters trailer. They did show too much. No, don't tell me too much. Let's see here. Michael McKenna says, are you surprised that The Bear Season 3 is still a binge? Hulu's Shogun and Murders in the Building are weekly. But I think The Bear is a very different type of show. I think The Bear is a great binge, and it was so successful as a binge the first 2 times, I wouldn't mess with perfection. The show is just performing extremely well. It's not really a weekly show. I think Shogun should have been a binge, by the way. I don't think Shogun worked as a weekly, but I do think that Murders in the Building works as a weekly. That's right, Luis. I'm excited for the new Mortal Kombat movie as well. I can't wait to see how it looks. Justin, I will review Blood of Zeus Season 2. In fact, I filmed my review earlier today, and it will go up tomorrow, because that's when the show drops, and the embargo lifts at 3 a.m. this evening. Starry says, will you do any breakdown streams in June to save you time on the shows that you are covering? No, I'm doing live trailer breakdowns because, that's a speed game. But I don't think I could, I don't know, I'm not quite sure how I could do a live breakdown of a show. You know, because I'd still have to get all the physical media together, and at that point I might as well edit it. I'm happy with the live trailer breakdowns, but I still want to keep show breakdowns as videos. Blair Wraith says, I got my tickets for Furiosa, and I'll be seeing it for the first time in one of the bigger IMAX screens. That's great. I'm so glad. Yeah, Furiosa tickets are already on sale. And then Trisha Monger says, I personally think Netflix layout and the tech angle they have is why a lot of people have it. If Disney Plus had a better layout and modern design, it would be huge. That's an interesting point, Trisha. I feel Netflix has like no layout. I often get a little frustrated. Like they used to have a category which was movies that are 90 minutes or under 2 hours. And I can't find that anymore. And there have been a couple of times recently where I wanted to watch a movie, but I was like, I can only really watch like a movie that's under 2 hours, and I couldn't find one. I do not have a Letterboxd account, iHeartMovies. I mean, I don't need one. I think Twitter and YouTube is the best way to interact with me. Happy Thursday to you too, MM92. I guess I'm most excited to cover Deadpool and Wolverine for obvious reasons. Phil Layfield, I've given up on the X-Men comics, and I'm not going to be reading any more of them until they relaunch, and then I'll try them again. No, Mish, I didn't watch Tales of the Empire. And yes, Danny, I will be covering House of the Dragon Season 2, and I will also be covering The Boys and hopefully The Acolyte, all episode breakdowns. So that's 3 shows simultaneously. It's going to be nuts. I'm excited, but I'm glad. I'm excited. I'm glad that there'll be stuff to cover in June. It's like super slow again right now, which is frustrating. All right, everybody, that's the Q&A. Let me just give you some shout outs. Where are you? What are you doing? What's up? Trisha says, I just got my son a new DJI drone for his birthday today. His dream is to become a cinematographer. I didn't know you were a cinematographer, Trisha. That's so cool. And I'm so glad that your son wants to follow in your footsteps. That must make you feel really nice. Jerry says, when is The Last of Us coming back? We're not doing questions. We do shout outs, but I think they've been filming it. So it'll hopefully be soon. You have a great weekend too, Oliver. And Astronomy says watching. Oh, it's your birthday too. Oh, were you the one who said it earlier? Sorry, Astronomy 360. Let's see here. Platinum Diva says I'm going to Cedar Point next weekend to ride the Top Thrill 2. You're a roller coaster. That's a great little emoji. I hope you have fun at Cedar Point, Platinum Diva. It sounds like that's going to be a great trip. Dancing Dog 60 says, still at work in Boston, sneaking in this stream. We won't tell on you. iHeart Movie says, in Ohio, watching Bridgerton, preparing for the next season. Excellent. Billy Baby Bobby is going to Boston tomorrow for a basketball tournament. Have you ever been? Any recommendation of things to do or places to eat? I haven't been to Boston for a very long time, but I do remember the food being excellent, so I'm sure you'll have a good time. Louise says, aloha from Hawaii. Hope one day you can come here. Whether, I assume you mean sucks right now? Oh, how horrible. But you live in Hawaii, so you're going to have some down days. But Hawaii, I've never been to Hawaii. I would love to go someday. Christian Parko says, hello from Georgia. I just finished my 3rd year of entertainment media studies at university. I am relaxing in my apartment for the first day of summer. Slept like 13 hours. Summer has started for you, Christian. And it sounds like you're off to a great start. Sounds like you worked hard and now you're ready to relax. Kyle Selby is in Los Angeles at the gym getting his cardio in. Good for you. Well, Junior 6288 says, dog sitting an elder dog this weekend for my parents, so no theater movies for me this weekend. But what a good deed you're doing, Junior 6288. I'm sure you're going to help that dog have a great weekend. And NCNC says, someone gifted me a membership. I'm Nicholas, Argentine psychoanalyst. Grace, I've been your fan since the Marvel YouTube. Oh, you have? Wow. You still miss morning movie news and think about the ink. Thanks for sticking with me. And I'm so glad YouTube picked a great person to give a membership to. I'm so glad. Welcome. You're going to be a member for a whole month. And Brock52 says, trying to survive the heat in Jacksonville, Florida. And then Ben 10. Oh, yeah, Ben 10 is in France. Bonne nuit. And then Trisha Monger says, driving through Greenwich now, I remember you saying you visited Blue Sky Studios. I did. It was an incredible experience. I was there. It was really nice. Very nice facility. And Ragu says, hi from Ireland. 2 weeks holiday on the way. Just have to get through tomorrow. Oh, just one more day. That's going to be great. Wow, 2 whole weeks. And then Aided Buffalo is watching in London on the London Eye. That's the Ferris wheel. Oh, that's so cool. We're up in the clouds with you. I love it. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining for today's live stream. Thank you. I'm not sure about Movie Math this weekend because of Mother's Day. It'll go up either Saturday or Monday. But then, of course, next week, more live streams, plenty of videos, lots of movie reviews. We're going to have a great time. All right, and upfronts. Maybe we'll get some cool announcements out of the upfronts. Okay, everybody, bye. Have a great rest of your Thursday. See ya. Bye-bye.